Let's look at the big picture first. The global superyacht industry is worth more than $30 billion dollars a year, and the charter side of that market alone has been growing steadily as more of the world's wealthy choose renting over buying. But here is the detail almost nobody outside this world understands. Owning a luxury yacht is not really an investment. It is one of the most expensive lifestyles money can buy, dressed up to look like a business. And when it is run as a business through chartering, the economics are far more brutal and far more interesting than they appear on Instagram. The 10% rule. There is an old rule among yacht brokers, repeated so often it has become an industry cliche. Owning a yacht costs roughly 10% of the purchase price every single year, just to keep it running. A $20 million yacht, therefore, costs about $2 million a year before it ever leaves the dock. That is not maintenance in the way a car needs maintenance. That is an entire floating small business with its own payroll, its own insurance policy, its own fuel budget, and its own regulatory inspections that happens to have an owner instead of a boss. The asset itself. Let's start with the asset itself. A new super yacht in the 50 to 80 meter range that defines the luxury segment typically costs anywhere from $20 million to over $200 million, depending on size, shipyard, and level of customization. And unlike a house, a yacht does not appreciate. It depreciates often 10 to 15% in the first year alone and continues losing value every year after that. The same curve as a car, just with far more zeros attached. Cost. Category 1. Crew. The first major cost category is crew. A super yacht in this size range needs a captain, a chief engineer, deckhands, stewardesses, and often a private chef, sometimes 10 to 20 crew members living aboard full-time. Combined annual salaries for a crew this size typically run between $1 and $3 million a year, and that is before housing, food, uniforms, training certifications, and travel costs to rotate crew in and out are added. This is the same principle we've seen in every labor-heavy industry we've covered. The product is not the yacht itself, it is the people who run it, and people are the most expensive, least automatable line item on the entire budget. Berthing and marina fees. The second major cost is berthing and marina fees. Docking a super yacht in a prestigious marina, Monaco, Porto Cervo, or St. Bart's during high season can cost anywhere from $1,000 to over $4,000 a night, depending on size and location. An owner who wants their yacht available at the right marina during the right season can easily spend several $100,000 a year purely on dockage. Cost category 3, fuel. The third major cost is fuel. A super yacht burns fuel dramatically faster than any road vehicle, and a single ocean crossing can consume tens of thousands of dollars in diesel. Owners who actually use their yacht for extended cruising, rather than letting it sit at the dock, can see annual fuel costs alone climb into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Cost category 4, maintenance and refit. The fourth major cost is maintenance and refit. Hulls need to be cleaned and repainted, engines need servicing, electronics need constant updating, and every few years a yacht needs a full refit, essentially a renovation that can cost millions of dollars on its own. Saltwater is relentlessly corrosive, and a yacht left poorly maintained loses both function and resale value at an accelerated rate. Cost category 5, insurance. The fifth major cost is insurance. Insuring a vessel of this value, carrying passengers, crew, and often expensive tenders, jet skis, and water toys, is a specialized and expensive category of maritime insurance, frequently running into the hundreds of thousands of dollars annually for the largest yachts. Why most yachts are never meant to profit. Add all of this together, crew, marina fees, fuel, maintenance, and insurance, and you understand why the 10% rule exists. For most owners, a yacht is never expected to make money. It exists purely as a display of wealth, a mobile venue for entertaining, and a lifestyle asset. This is the same category as a private jet, enormously expensive, largely non-productive, and justified by the owner's other sources of wealth rather than by the yacht itself. The charter business model. But there is a second version of this industry, the one that actually tries to generate revenue. The charter business. This is where things get genuinely interesting from an economic standpoint. Chartering a super yacht to paying guests can generate serious revenue. A luxury yacht in the 50-meter class can charter for anywhere between $100,000 and $500,000 per week, depending on size, brand, and season, and that figure is before tips. which customarily run 20% of the charter fee directly to the crew and before fuel and provisioning costs, which the charter guest typically also covers separately. Making the numbers real here is the revenue math made real. Say a yacht charters for $200,000 a week. If an owner can book that yacht for 12 weeks a year, which is considered a genuinely strong charter season, that generates $2.4 million in gross charter revenue. Against annual running costs of roughly $2 million, that finally starts to look like a business that could, in a good year, approach break even or even a modest profit. The seasonality trap. But that 12-week assumption is the industry's biggest hidden risk. Charter demand is intensely seasonal. The Mediterranean season runs roughly from May to September. The Caribbean season runs from December to April. A yacht that isn't repositioned between these two markets sits idle and unbooked for large stretches of the year. Repositioning itself, sailing the yacht across an ocean between seasons, costs real money in fuel and crew time. And if that voyage isn't booked as a charter itself, it is a pure cost with zero revenue. This creates the yacht charter industry's version of the food truck's location risk or the coffee shop's foot traffic risk. An idle yacht sitting at a marina with a full crew being paid regardless is bleeding money every single day it isn't chartered. Unlike a real estate rental, which can be rented out almost continuously, a yacht's revenue window is short, seasonal, and highly weather dependent. A difficult season walked through. Let's walk through a difficult season to see the real risk. An owner books what looks like a strong 10-week charter calendar for the summer, but a major client cancels 2 weeks with only a month's notice, citing a scheduling conflict, and by the time the yacht is remarketed, only one of those 2 weeks gets rebooked at a discounted last-minute rate. In the same season, an engine issue is discovered during a routine inspection, requiring the yacht to be pulled out of the water for repairs during what would have been another prime charter week. A tropical storm forces the cancellation of a Caribbean repositioning charter entirely. A full week of lost revenue, plus the now wasted fuel cost of relocating regardless. None of these individually would break the season, but together, they can turn a projected $2 million in charter revenue into closer to $1 million, while the underlying costs, crew salaries, insurance, dockage, remain almost completely fixed regardless of how many weeks were actually booked. Regional variation. Regional variation plays an enormous role in this industry too. The Mediterranean commands the highest charter rates in the world, driven by prestige, culture, and an enormous concentration of ultra-wealthy clientele. The Caribbean commands strong rates during the North American winter escape season. Newer markets, like the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and increasingly the South Pacific, offer lower charter rates currently, but with far less competition for prime marina slots and often lower operating costs, which changes the entire calculation for where an owner should base their yacht. The broker layer. There's also a brokerage layer to this industry that most owners don't fully appreciate until they experience it. Yacht charter brokers, the people who actually connect owners with paying guests, typically take a commission of 15 to 20% of the charter fee. This is not simply a finder's fee. Brokers control access to the wealthiest client networks in the world, and a yacht without strong broker relationships can sit unbooked no matter how beautiful it is. This mirrors closely the advantage that national franchise chains hold over small independent operators in other industries we've covered. Relationships, reputation, and network access that cannot be bought quickly, only built over years. The advantage of scale. The biggest players in this industry establish charter brands with a fleet of multiple yachts or yachts managed by professional charter management companies, hold real structural advantages that a single yacht owner simply does not have. Existing relationships with the top brokers, a recognizable brand that repeat clients trust, the ability to offer clients an alternative yacht if their first choice is unavailable, and enough scale to absorb one bad season across a portfolio of vessels. A single owner with one yacht carries the full financial weight of every good and bad week personally, with no ability to spread that risk. The most common mistake. The most common reason wealthy new owners lose significant money in this industry isn't the yacht itself, it's misjudging the charter market entirely. Many first-time owners buy based on personal taste rather than charter demand, choosing a layout, size, or brand that photographs beautifully but doesn't align with what brokers can actually sell at a premium. Others underestimate how aggressively costs continue even during weeks with zero charter income and are shocked when the crew payroll and marina bill arrive in December exactly as large as they did in July. Final comparison Two contrasting scenarios. Let's take two nearly identical 50-meter yachts purchased for a similar price with similar annual operating costs of roughly $2 million. Optimized scenario. The owner works with an established, well-connected charter broker from day one, positions the yacht to be available in the Mediterranean for peak summer season and the Caribbean for peak winter season, invests in a strong marketing presence and professional photography, and maintains the vessel meticulously to protect both charter appeal and resale value. The result? 14 to 16 weeks chartered per year, gross charter revenue of roughly $2.8 to $3 million, enough to cover operating costs with a healthy margin remaining alongside genuine enjoyment of the yacht during the owner's own personal weeks aboard. Realistic scenario, the owner buys the yacht primarily for personal use and lists it for charter almost as an afterthought, without a dedicated broker relationship or consistent seasonal repositioning strategy. The result? Perhaps 4 to 6 weeks chartered per year, gross charter revenue of roughly $800,000 to $1,200,000, covering less than half of the annual operating cost, with the owner personally funding the remaining shortfall, often without ever fully realizing how large that gap has become until the annual accounting is finally done. The gap between these two owners, with nearly identical yachts and nearly identical costs, comes down almost entirely to how seriously the vessel was treated as a business rather than a possession. Closing. A luxury yacht is, at its core, one of the purest examples of an asset that looks like wealth from the outside while quietly consuming it from the inside. A coffee shop's core risk lives in its lease. A food truck's risk lives in its permits. A yacht owner's risk lives in 3 places simultaneously: the unforgiving seasonality of charter demand, the relentless fixed cost of a full-time crew regardless of income, and the accelerating depreciation of the asset itself with every year that passes. Owners who treat the yacht as a genuine charter business with real marketing, real broker relationships, and real seasonal strategy can turn an enormously expensive asset into something that at least partially pays for itself. Owners who don't are simply funding, at extraordinary cost, one of the most beautiful ways in the world to lose money on the water. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to support us.